Hello there. My name is Nick. On the internet, I usually go by Admiral Zaitan1, so that's where you can find me most places on the internet. I'll have relevant links to where you can find me and where you can find the decks I'll be talking about in the description. I've been playing Magic since 2013, since Dragon's Maze, the final set from Return to Ravnica block. I'm making this series of videos, series of deck techs to talk about the brews I made for Kaldheim and what I'll be playing on day one of the expansion. And I just wanted to share them with other people and give other people some ideas about what they might want to see in the early days of the expansion. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the deck in the comments, or anything you would like to see from me going forward. So if you have anything like that, please just let me know.
Alright, so let's get going on the next deck tech. This is an Abzan midrange deck. As you can see, we are a Yorion companion deck, so we have 80 cards in the main deck. Our early stuff is all anti-aggro stuff, from removal, like Bloodchief's Thirst and Deadweight, in the 1-drop slot. In the 2-drop slot, we have Eliminates, Heartless Axe, and a Mire's Grasp, and also Mire Triton, who is just a Death Toucher that gains life, and also mills 2 cards, for whatever that's worth. But Death Toucher that gains life, so all anti-aggro. In the 3-drop slot, we have Llanowar Visionaries to ramp us into our big threats and cantrip and be good with Yorion. We have Elspeth's Nightmare to get us some bad 2-for-1s. It's like bad Kolaghan's Command. But it's also decent to blink with Yorion, you know, like there's lots of... In general, when you're playing a Yorion deck, you put in cards that are permanents, even if they're, like, slightly worse or comparable or whatever, because they have synergy with Yorion. We have some Mythos of Nethroi, which is the catch-all removal spell. If you're playing Abzan, kills any non-land permanent at instant speed. Pretty good. We have Skyclave Apparition, just very good on-rate card. It's the most played card in Modern now, I think, which obviously Modern has more efficient threats, so it's better in Modern than it is in Standard, but it's still just a good card. We have one Serulf, again, trying it out, just like in the Jund deck. Like, I don't actually think it's that good, but I wanted to give it a shot, so... we have a Pelucranos, in case we're up against Rogues, we won't have a chance game 1, even though we'll probably still lose. He gives us something to escape. We have some Yasharns to go find us some lands. Also, just be a 4/4. Why do I keep right-clicking? Also, just be a 4/4. Like, a 4/4 that draws you 2 kind of bad cards, but not terrible cards, because they still help you hit your land drops, is just a good card. Like, you just play that. We have our 4 Binding the Old Gods. I can talk about Binding the Old Gods here. Like, it's the saga, like I talked about in my Jund video. First chapter's great, unconditional removal. Second chapter gets us forest. Any forest, doesn't have to be a basic, can get us a Triome, or we're running Snow Duels too. Just a couple Snow Duels, because there is a cost, because we're not a snow deck, and they come into play tapped, but they do help us fix our colors. We have 2 copies of Esika's Chariot. Good mid-range card, and plays really well with Yorion. You can look at it here. You see when it enters the battlefield, we get 2 2/2 green cats. So if we keep flickering this with Yorion, we keep getting 2 2/2 green cats every time. When it attacks, we populate, but it's actually slightly better than populate, because populate, notably from Return to Ravnica block, is you make a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. This is a copy of any token you control. So it can be a treasure or something. Like it doesn't have to be a creature. This is just a really resilient threat, too, against, like, control decks or enemy mid-range decks with lots of removal, because if they can either answer the cats, in which case the vehicle is just waiting to be crewed later, or they can answer the vehicle, in which case we still have the cats, and they have to do it at instant speed, or get it. So it's just really a resilient threat, I think. In the 5-drop slot, we have 2 main deck Yorions in addition to our sideboard Yorion, so we really have some Yorion stuff going on here. We like to be blinking things. We have 2 Elspeth Conquers Death to get things back and do something else that I will talk about later with this guy, Burning Rune Demon. But yeah, Elspeth is just a really good card. You should be playing it, especially if you're a Yorion deck. We have 2 Kaya the Inexorable. Again, I'm kind of iffy on this card, and it's not bad. Like my main concern is that it doesn't really do much on an empty board if you're up against like creatureless control or something. Because the +1 only gets you value if you already have a creature that they're going to be getting rid of. So if you don't have anything, there's nothing to uptick on, then you're not really doing anything. But the -3 is just really good unconditional. Like, I think it has a shot. Like, it's good unconditional removal. It exiles any non-land permanent. That's pretty good. You can see here, I should mention, her +1 is put a ghost form counter on up to 1 target non-token creature. It gains when this creature dies or is put in exile, return it to its owner's hands. That's relevant because there's so much exile removal in Standard right now with like Extinction Event and Skyclave Apparition, and create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So it gives you some resiliency against lots of removal. -3, I feel like this is going to be the most used mode, especially when it comes down. Exile target non-land permanent, just really good. Get rid of anything. -7, you get an emblem with at the beginning of your upkeep. You may cast a legendary spell from your hand, graveyard, or from among cards you own in exile without paying its mana cost. So just keep churning out stuff. Notably, you can ultimate this Kaya on 7. She gets put in the graveyard, and then at the beginning of your next upkeep, you can then cast this Kaya again from your graveyard. Because like it says you can cast legendary spells from your graveyard, and Kaya is legendary. So you can keep recurring this Kaya with her own ultimate. So that's pretty good. Then we have the top end. We have 1 copy of Vorinclex Monstrous Raider. Vorinclex has just looked amazing to me in all the testing I've seen done with him on shows like Versus Live. I don't think you want to overload on him, especially because he's legendary, but he's just really good to have as an option to finish people and also shut down enemy strategies. Like it shuts down sagas. Like sagas. So to look at Vorinclex, if you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. I'm going to talk about this for a second. I'll talk about his other ability first. But if an opponent would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, they put half that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead, rounded down. So notably, you round down when you're having your opponent's stuff. So sagas and stuff that gets anything that gets 1 counter at a time gets 0, because half of 1 rounded down is 0. So they just don't function. Some notes on Vorinclex's first ability, because people mess this up all the time. They keep comparing it to Doubling Season. Vorinclex is worded differently than Doubling Season. Vorinclex does work with your Planeswalkers in the way you want them to, in every way you want them to. It doubles the loyalty they come in with, and the loyalty they tick up on. I know Doubling Season doesn't do that. This is worded differently than Doubling Season. It does work the way you want it to. And then also something to note for Standard is sagas. If you put multiple counters on a saga like you do with Vorinclex, you still get all the chapters from the saga that you put counters on for. So let's say you play a saga after you play Vorinclex, you get chapters 1 and 2. You don't just get 2. So there's no anti-synergy there. Like Vorinclex works exactly how you want it to. It doesn't. There's no drawback. Like it just works. It's worded in the way that you want it to be worded for it to be a card you're playing. And it's also just a 6/6 trample haste. Like it's just a good card. I think people are not catching on how good it really is. Then we have 2 copies of Burning Rune Demon. I really like this card. Burning Rune Demon is a 6/6 flyer for 6. Demon Berserker. I don't care about the Berserker or the Demon. He's just here to be a cool guy. When Burning Rune Demon enters the battlefield, you may search your library for exactly 2 cards not named Burning Rune Demon that have different names. If you do, reveal those cards. An opponent chooses one of them, put the chosen card into your hand and the other into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. So, Reed Duke actually wrote an article on this today, and he talked about exactly what I'm going to tell you now. Your goal is to make it so your opponent gives you whichever one they want you to have less. Your goal is to make it so that all your opponent's choices are bad. So, for example, a very common thing I can foresee doing with this is getting Elspeth Conquers Death plus some big scary creature or planeswalker like Kaya or Vorinclex or Yasharn, because then they either give you the ECD and put the scary creature or planeswalker into your graveyard, in which case you cast the ECD next turn, exile one of their things, tax them the next turn, and then you get the thing back anyway, or they put the ECD in your graveyard and you have the big scary thing you wanted. So either way, you get the big scary thing. I think that will be the most common line of play, and that's what I'm looking forward to doing. He's also really good to blink with Yorion, because it is an ETB, so if you flicker him, you do get it back. You do get to do the tutor again. And then, some spicy top end I wanted to try out. We are running 2 copies of Eerie Ultimatum at the top end. This could be entirely wrong, but I thought it was fun, and when is a better time to test out fun stuff than when a new set drops? This is not a new card anyway, it's from Ikoria, but it's never really seen much play, so I just wanted to play with it. And that's part of why we're running one of slightly worse removal spells as permanents. We have Deadweight and Mire's Grasp instead of, say, another Bloodchief's Thirst or another Eliminate, because we can bring those back with Eerie Ultimatum. We have an Amiria's Call just to double as a land or be a finisher. Our land base is pretty standard. We're running all the pathways, all the triomes, all the fabled passage, or all the fabled passages. We're running basics, a mix of snow and regular, because I just think snow is still very free, but we can still have some regular in case our opponents play a Redain, the snow tax god. We have 2 Castle Lochthwains to get some utility out of our lands, and for that reason, we are running a couple more lands with swamp basic land types. We're running Woodland Chasms and Snowfield Sinkholes for that reason. 2 Woodland Chasms and 1 Snowfield Sinkhole. They have the swamp basic land type, so they help Castle Lochthwain come into play tapped, untapped, in addition to fixing our colors. And then we also, the Woodland Chasm serves a double purpose that's also the same as Arctic Treeline in that purpose, as Binding the Old Gods can get a forest. Again, doesn't have to be basic, so we can also get one of these snow lands, snow duels, if we want to, with Binding of the Old Gods. Again, like before, the sideboard is kind of a mess, because I don't know what to expect. I expect lots of mono red, just because there's always lots of mono red when a new set comes out, so there's more removal in here. There's some anti-control tech, there's anti-rogue tech. I'll go over that. We have the Yorion, that's our companion. We have Deadweight and Mire's Grasp for more removal. We have Chainweb Arachnir and Elspeth's Son's Nemesis as extra escape cards against rogues. We have Duresses against control. We have Cragplate Baloths against control. We have Agonizing Remorse against anything slow, midrange, or control. And then we have 2 Occame Adversaries, just because I expect a lot of green stuff for what it's worth. I expect mono green, I expect Gruul, I expect green. Green looks good. So, yeah, I mean, that's my Abzan deck for Kaldheim. This is the deck that I don't know if I can say I'll play it first, but I'm definitely excited to play this deck, because I really like Burning Rune Demon. Esca's Chariot is also cool, too. It's the cat car. It's a vehicle that makes cats. It's the cat car. So, we get to play with that. Yeah, we're all in this video for now. I'll do my Sultai midrange video today as well, and that'll probably be all the videos I'm doing for before release. I'll probably do updates on what's working and what's not once Kaldheim actually comes out on Thursday, but we'll see.